Hello and thank you for joining this week's webinar. On this week's webinar, we'll be going through the advanced on setting up the system for actuals. And I'd like to go through and explain about minute to minute, your charge bands, pay bands, edit pay, payroll groups, and shift pay. So to start with, we'll just quickly go onto the system. And to set these up to make sure that you are paying correctly and charging correctly for actuals, what we will do to start with is we will go into the admin, into invoice group and services, and in here what we would need to do, if you are going to pay and charge actuals on all of your services and invoice groups, we would need to go through all your invoice groups and all your services and select the correct settings you would like for paying on actuals. So to start with, I'm going to go into the private client invoice group, services at the top, and as you can see, I've already got some of the settings created down the bottom. So in these service charges, you can see here we've got the option to pay or charge on plan times, which would be the times that you've set on the tasks, or you can charge on the actual times on which your staff members have clocked in and clocked out of. So to start with, what we're going to do is run through setting up the actuals. You have the option to charge over plan time or up to plan time. So if the call is for an hour and your staff member is there for 55 minutes, then obviously that would be under the hour. But if they're there for 1 hour and 5 or 10 minutes, you have the option to charge for the hour or over the hour. So in this case, we will go over the plan time. You have the actual times only or actuals and planned. So for example, actual times will only take what your staff members have clocked in and clocked out of. So if they haven't turned up to the call and clocked in or out, you won't charge for that call. Now in some cases, you may still need to charge. So you may set it on actuals and planned, so no matter what, you will always charge for the call. But in this scenario, I'm going to set it up for actual times only. And then below, you have the option to set it up for minute-to-minute billing. You also have your charge bands. So what we're going to do to set up right away is we're going to put this on minute-to-minute, and I will explain the charge bands a little bit later. So all of this on the left-hand side is to do with what you're going to charge, and on the right-hand side is all to do with what you're going to pay. So same again, you've got the planned time only, actual time only, or planned if no actual. So in this case, I want to set it on actual time only. And then on the right, you've got another option to pay over plan time or up to plan time. So in this case, I'm going to pay over plan time, but these are the settings that you can choose for your business so you are charging and paying the correct amount. So because I've set that up, I'm going to quickly save. And now what I'm going to do is quickly show you on the task manager the tasks I'm going to show you the invoice and the pay for. So as you can see here, my staff member A has been clocking in and out of all of these calls. If you would like to see the actual times on the task manager, you would need to scroll across a little bit and you will see two columns showing in blue and yellow, and it will give you your actual start time, actual end time. So this is directly off the task manager. If you were using the mobiles, you would have QP Live. And on here, this would show you when the calls are uploaded to the phone, show you when they're in progress, whether the calls are completed, and as you can see, the actual times are shown against the calls. The other option you've got is if you're using the landline call monitoring, you also have Quick Check, which would show you all your actual times, and there will be this box at the top which would show you when the staff have clocked in and out of using the home phones. Because we haven't used the home phone to set this up for giving you the actuals, you won't be able to see this. But if you are using it, you'll be able to match up your calls using the call times along the top. So these are a couple of ways you can see your actuals within the system. Now, because we've got your actuals against the visits in question, what I'm going to do is just quickly go to staff pay. And if I search for the week in question, so that'd be week 40, as you can see here, what I have is staff members pay coming through for actuals. So as you can see right at the very top, staff member A has been to client B, been there 41 minutes. For the rate of £8 an hour, it's divided it down to pay them the correct amount for the 41 minutes. Same with the call below for 18 minutes and 27 minutes. So as you can see, the actuals will pull through correctly for your staff pay. And when you go to your invoices, so if I quickly go to the wizard and auto create invoices, what this will do is it will let me create the invoices for week 40 with all the calls I've got the actuals. And just to let you know, when your staff have clocked in and out of a call, it will automatically mark the call as complete, ready for invoicing. So as you can see, all of these calls have got the actual times. Scrolling to the left, you can see that all your calls have been marked as complete. So all we need to do from here is we would want to create an invoice. So go into the wizard, going to auto create invoices. I'll choose the week in question, so it'll be week 40, and my invoice is created. So from here, I can go on to my invoices and search for the invoice I've just created. So all of these invoices here have been created to do with the actuals. If I click on the first one, we can see we've got this format now. Some of your councils may want to see very basic information on an invoice, but some councils or your private clients or any local authorities may want to see your actual times on your invoice. So for this, what we would need to do is we need to put a setting in to change the format of the invoice. So what I'm going to do for Mr. Client B, I'm going to go to the client's details because these are a private client, and I'd need to change the details within the client's records. So for this, I brought up client B, I go to finance, and in here in the invoice options, I have the option to change the format of the invoice, and I'm going to set this for detailed invoice showing actuals and planned. I'll save that. And now what you'll see when I go to the invoices and research, you'll have to research if you made any changes on your invoices, otherwise the information won't change. So just by refreshing it, we'll update the invoice, and when we go onto it, you will see that it's still brought through the same invoice format. So just very quickly, we also have settings in here. Now this is another thing to bear in mind, because what you'll find, if we go into here and change the format of the invoice, shows actuals or planned, save, and what I'm going to do now is just quickly refresh this invoice. And there we go. As you can see, this invoice now is showing you your actuals. Now, just as a little indicator, on your invoice when you're seeing it like this, what you've got next to the start time is A. Now, these are showing that these are all actual times. So if you had any calls that were on plan time, you would have a capital P to state that it's a plan time. And as you can see, your charges are pulling through according to what the call would be. So that's as easy as it is to set up basic actuals on the system. Now, if you need to go through more in-depth setting up, what we also have on the admin, in the invoice group and services, as I mentioned earlier, we also have the option to set up your charge bands. So with this, I'm going to go to the Birmingham City Council, click Services, and on here, what I've done is I've started actually setting this up. So we've got actual times, we're going to go over plan time, actual times only, and then choose charge bands. Now how charge bands work are to do with the time tolerance that you'd see below your charges for the 15-minute, half an hour, 45, and the hour. So as you can see, I've set 20 minutes. So if a carer logs into this call and they are there for 19 minutes, 59 seconds, the client would be charged the £4.50 rate. If they are there for 20 minutes and 1 second, then it would bump up to the half an hour, and so on and so forth. So you can set this up exactly the way you work. Now, in some cases, this might be a little bit more tricky to set up by yourself, so the support team are there to help you get this correct. So this is just another way you can set up your charges by using your charge bands. So, I'm going to go on to explain a little bit about your pay bands. So, with paying a staff member, you've got a couple of ways of setting up different rates on the system. So we have gone through your standard staff pay, which would take in their normal hourly rate, as you can see here. Now, to change the rate of pay, what we're able to do is you've got your staff wage rate. So this is created by bands. But before we go into that and start allocating your rates, we would need to go into Skills and Pay Matrix. And in here, this is where you can type your descriptions of your pay bands. So as you can see, I've already created a sleep night, a live-in, and now what I'm going to do is add another pay band by using the Add Pay Band at the top. And I'm going to create this as shift pay. So once I've created that as shift pay, I'd need a little code, so I'll put it as SP. And if you want this to be included in the shift pay, we would need to tick this box here. So I'm going to tick this box and explain about the shift pay just a little bit later, but I want to explain about how you can set up your charges or your staff pay for the pay bands, and this is how you can override their standard hourly rate. So once I've saved that, I can now go into staff wage rates, and in here for staff member A, I've already got the living created at £8, a sleep night at £7.83, and then shift pay. You can set this up to however you like. So I'm going to set this up at £8.10, and you've got your fuel allowance. So this is to do with the mileage. So I'm going to set this up as 20p and save. So because I've now created these pay bands, what I can do, if I go to the tasks in question, now as you can see, I've brought up all these calls for staff member A. And if I wanted to assign bands to a couple of these calls, so for example, I'll select all the morning, I can right click down to staff pay, and you've got pay bands. When I go through here, I can select the band I'd like to create, so I'm going to put it as shift pay. Once I've selected, I click save, and now what you will see is when I scroll to the right hand side, you'll see a column for pay bands. Just there. So with this, what you are able to do is you can manually go through one by one and change these, or you can multi-select using the control key, as I've just done, to select more than one visit. So once I've got them selected, right click, staff pay, pay bands, and then I'll assign the band I would like to put against the calls. Now, just as a little bit of an indicator, if you do use the pay bands quite a lot, instead of having to scroll backwards and forwards, what you can do is once you've found the pay band scrolling right, if you put your mouse cursor over pay band, left click and hold the click down, and then what you can actually do is drag it to the left. So if this is something that you use or any other feature in here that you use, remember just to left click and hold the click on the column that you're after, put it to the left and let go of the click, and it will appear where you've just mouse cursor was. So as you can see, I'm just putting them to the left hand side, and I'll save. Now, what you would need to do, if you want your column to appear there all the time, right click and you'll see preferences and layout, and keep this task view layout. That means every time you log back onto the system, once you've logged off, this pay band will always appear exactly where you've left it. So, just to show you, now that I've assigned this pay band, I'm going to go back to staff pay and research. Now, as you can see on here, we've still got the standard pay setup. So when I research, you can now see in this little box in the middle, we've got this little code pulling through. So SP is shift pay. And you can see it's overridden the pay by £8.10, and it will still work off your actuals. So no matter what, your actuals will come through exactly what they need to. Now, in some cases, you may have quite a lot of staff on the system, and some of them may get paid different times. Some of them may get paid weekly or monthly, or they may get paid different times of the month. Now, instead of having to go through and confirm all your staff pay or go through staff member by staff member, we can actually create a pay payroll groups. So just to quickly show you in the admin, on the left hand side we've got payroll groups, and in here I've already created a weekly and a monthly payroll group. So you can create this however you like. You can have more than two, you can have literally as many as you need. Once you've got all the descriptions created, you will need to go to your staff tab, choose the staff member in question, so staff member A. If you go to, bear with me 2 moments, it's finance, and you've got your payroll group. So under here, we can select which payroll group they will be on. And you can do this for all your staff members. So you would select the correct payroll group for the staff member. When you go to run the staff pay for your staff members that would get paid weekly, you can go to your staff pay tab, choose the payroll group once the drop down has updated. So in here, you would see weekly and monthly. You select the one you're after. You don't necessarily have to have a staff member there. You can remove the staff member's name, and when you search that payroll group, it will bring up all your staff members that have been allocated that payroll group. So it just makes it a little bit easy, so you don't have to go through staff member by staff member or do it for every staff member. You can select it for what you need. So this is just how you can do your pay bands. One more thing I'd like to show you before I go on to shift pay is on the task manager. You also have another way you can edit your staff members' pay. So, by scrolling across, you will see that we've got edit pay. So in here, you can type in the total amount that that staff member would get paid for the visit. So I may set this as £8.50, and on the drop down next to it, would give you the option whether it's per hour or fixed amount. So I'll set this as per hour, and save. And what you'll find when I go through the staff pay, that you will see that that £8.50 is pulled through with a red circle. So that tells you it's been overridden. So there are many ways you can actually pay your staff member going through this feature. So one last thing I'd like to show you regarding the staff pay is the staff shift pay. Now, when setting this up, what we would need to do is when we go into your invoice group and services, you need to select the services in question. So in here, we've got all our services for the private client. And one little thing we need to do is when you scroll across on this top box, you will see including shift pay. So shift pay will let you pay from the start of the call to the end. So not per visit, but it might be the duration of all the morning calls. So if the staff member starts at 8 o'clock and they finish at 12 o'clock, and they might have a break for an hour or less. So if the staff member started back at 1 o'clock, because of the break between their lunch and the 12 o'clock and the 1 o'clock call, you may set up a tolerance of 55 minutes. So what this tolerance will do, any calls that are greater than 55 minutes won't be included in the shift pay. So the staff member will in theory get paid from 8 o'clock until 12 o'clock for the 4 hours. Now what I'd like to do is explain and show you how this works. So I've gone through and I've made sure these services are all set up for included shift pay. What I need to do from here, in your skills and pay matrix, it's always making sure that your shift pay grade is selected in here. And then from there, one extra thing you'd need to do is go into your system settings in the admin. And you've also got your split shift gap. So currently this is set at 30 minutes, but you can change this to whatever you'd like and the tolerances you need to set. So if I leave that at 30 minutes, with all the tasks on the task manager, I've assigned my pay bands to all of the Monday and the one on Tuesday. So with these visits so far, I can show you the example of how your shift pay would work. So going back to the staff pay, we can see that the staff members pay is here with all of these codes to do with the SP. What I'm going to do is click the little green tick on the left to confirm the staff pay. Once the pay is confirmed, I would need to search what's unconfirmed for the same date range. And then I get this little green box here to generate shift pay. So by clicking this, what you will see, it gives you a couple of codes. So this is to do with what tasks have been included in the shift grade set. And should this report exclude any task services which are marked for exclusion by you, so that you can choose the services you would like to include or exclude. And what you will see is at the very top, we've got the staff member working on the 1st of the 10th from 7:59 till 11:01 for a total shift time of 3 hours and 2 minutes. So they had 5 visits in that, and their rate of pay of £8.10 to give them a shift pay of £24.57. So what this will include is a way you cannot have to generate your mileage with your driving time. You obviously still run your mileage pay, but you won't need to run your driving time, because the shift pay will pay them for exactly the time that they've been out seeing clients and when they have their break. So as you can see here, we've got the 11:01. So when we have a little look at the tasks and scroll over to where the actual times are, as you can see here, your staff member would get paid from this visit. Let me just quickly scroll up, I do apologise. They would get paid from the 7:59 to the 11:01. And because we've got a break greater than 30 minutes from 11:01 and 11:50, you're paying your staff member for the bulk of these visits. So that's how you can generate your shift pay. And that's just another way you can pay your staff members. So all of these things you can get set up very easy. If you do get stuck, you can always give us a call. But this is the advanced on setting up your actual times and making sure that you're invoicing and paying your staff for the correct amount. If you have any questions or would like to go through a little bit more, you can always give us a call on our normal number of 01905 424345. Option 1 for the support team, and we'll be glad to help. Hope you enjoyed. Thank you very much for joining. Take care. Bye.